So somewhere in my pictures,
Yes.
I have a picture of Dad and you in New York City.
Oh, yes.
I'll see if I can find it, but
Oh, I wish you could.
yeah, you're
Maybe
saying
you got it stuck in as a bookmark somewhere.
no, it's in some files or envelopes, or it's in a box of other pictures. I will find it, and interesting. And I'm thinking I have a picture of Dad swinging a golf club, and I think it was with you. You golfed, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Then when you were young. So do you remember working in New York City?
What, golf?
No, working. You worked in New York City when you were living there.
Yeah.
And did you work for Morris first in his office or something? Yeah. And you modeled also?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You were.
I didn't make much money doing that, but I didn't care. It was fun.
Well, we have pictures in your scrapbook. Remember when we made the scrapbook last year?
Yes.
And there's lots of pictures of you when you were young, and you were very, very pretty as a young lady.
I don't even remember. I don't even have any.
No, that was fun for us. Frank sent us some pictures, and we blew them up. We put them in a binder for you, and then we labeled, who the other people were in the pictures.
Oh.
So we have that picture of you and Uncle Joe, you and your brother Joe, and you with with Lee's kids, Frank and Tom, I think.
Oh, yes.
When you were a young girl also, and there's a couple of bathing suit pictures of you.
Really?
Yeah, they're in your scrapbook, wherever it is.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, and so we had a good time doing that. I'll go through some of my boxes of pictures and see if I can enhance that scrapbook with other things.
That. Did you live on the street or across the street?
I didn't ever live in Michigan. I lived in Seattle. I was born in Detroit when Mom and Dad, when Dad graduated from college in 1941. Michael was born back in Idaho. Okay, so they moved with Michael back to Michigan. He got his master's degree, and he worked for U.S. Rubber and a couple of different places in town. And then I guess I was born in Detroit in 1947, and they'd been living there for probably 5 years. And then not long after that, probably a year and a half after that, they moved back to Idaho. And Dad worked on the farm for a while until he eventually got a job in Seattle, working for Boeing, I think in 1951. So we all moved to Seattle in either late 1951 or sometime in 1952, where we lived in a house that they bought for $4,950. So, and
Those were the days.
yeah, no kidding.
I grew up with 6 brothers that I very rarely saw. They were moving around every single night. My dad worked nights.
Yes.
And I was alone, but thank God, across the street, directly across, the Baptist minister. And he had 2 sons, and he had 4 daughters. And the daughters were very nice to me and friendly, and I happened to like them. And I spent a lot of time living with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd run back and forth. We were directly across from each other. And I'd run back and forth. If they needed something, I'd bring them our bread. I'd bring whatever I had. I would bring it over there. And their father was a Baptist minister.
Mm-hmm.
And and he was always busy. So the girls were alone. They had, well, of course they had brothers, but they weren't helpful. They weren't doing anything. I'd bring them home with my house, and sometimes I'd go to their house if my dad was, because I had no mother there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like we shared everything we had.
Mm-hmm.
And we still keep in touch.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're like sisters. And it was something. It was a life. But everybody was good to everybody else. And which was nice. That's what made it.
Yeah.
That's what made it laugh.
So I'm thinking that your birthday was about either in 1920 or 1921. Does that sound about right? When you were born? Dad was born in 1913.
1921.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. So that would make you 94 this year.
Like about. I never knew any other thing but English, but little sayings like "I gewalt."
Yeah, well, you picked that up.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest in the family, and my sister, I had one sister,
Mm-hmm.
and she was much older, and the minute she flew the coop out of the school, and I didn't see her after that. And my dad spoiled me, which I loved.
Yeah.
I could have any money I wanted, and I didn't want it. I didn't know what to do with it. He'd give it to me. I said, Dad, I don't want it. What do I want it for?
Right.
Oh, gosh. And we'd laugh over that. And I kept thinking, every time I'd be with some girls, they talk about the parents this, the parents that, the parents.
Right.
And I say, oh my God, they should only have a parent like I have.
Right. Well,
And he worked.
Just-
He worked, well, he had to work nights because we had no mother, so nobody cooked for us. We had no food, nothing. So he did all the cooking and the shopping and everything.
yeah.
And
You once told me, I think, that he would always have a stew or something on the stove, and as the boys came in, they'd grab a bowl of whatever it was and eat it
Yeah.
and go. You know,
Yeah.
so there was always something to eat in the house,
Yeah.
and it was stew or goulash or whatever you want to call it. You know, probably with vegetables and meat and pasta in it, so there was always something to eat.
yeah, well, Dad worked nights,
Yes.
so he shopped when he came home from work early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd go check the kitchen, get bread and milk and whatever he felt was needed that we would want, and then he'd go take his sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But he always came right home and saw to it that we had food.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I was spoiled a little more than the boys were. But
And they all tried to get
but
jobs
they
as
were
soon as they
nice.
could.
Yeah. But we never fought with each other, nothing like that. And it was nice. It was really nice.